Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Hello and good evening. I am Peter, and I'm really not supposed to be here. I'm not the one who was supposed to be hosting this show, but due to unfortunate circumstance, I sadly am. And apparently, it's not the only problem that's been hitting us this night or this evening. YouTube as well was kind of hard to get going tonight, as we're using Restream to distribute our streams to our various platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and it's really best to use this as a practice for broadcasting as well. So we really want to make sure that all the platforms are running, and since YouTube was giving us issues, well, we had to wait until we had YouTube set up and running, as we have a crash. I really have to learn the corners of the Nürburgring, and I don't know who Mess MN is. Back to the unfortunate circumstance, Nick Newcomb, who is our primary host and commentator, has actually fallen ill, quite sadly, and was unable to be here tonight to host the show tonight. So we wish him all the best and a speedy recovery, so that we can have him back with us as soon as possible. As you saw, the intro wasn't really updated for the Nürburgring 12 hours as well. This was supposed to be sort of a rundown and an attempt to do some interviews with the teams and trying to cover some of the action that went on in the Sebring 12 hours race. But since I was only producing and did not really pay very much attention to what was going on in the Sebring race, I am definitely not the right one to be conducting these interviews with the teams. So you're going to have to get used to that. It's just me here for tonight. I'm very sorry about that. Next week, I hope we will have a proper commentary team on board again, and hopefully some of the commentators that actually paid attention to what went on in the race and commentated on that, so that we can have some of the representatives from the teams that took part in that race with us next week. But other stuff in other news as well that we can disclose is that we are going to have 2 new races added, not to the EVC season schedule, but just added to our general calendar. Of course, well prepared as I am, I can't properly even remember the dates of the races, but the tickets has gone on sale, on the website. You'll see them at the very beginning of the web shop section on the web page. The first upcoming race will be the Rio Toro Seilink Spa-Francorchamps 2 hours race, which will be held in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It'll be held on April the 28th. That is Tuesday, April the 28th, and tickets have gone on sale. It'll be run at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, as I said, and it'll be a 2-hour race. There'll be a prize pool of 500 euros, plus some very, very nice sponsored hardware prizes from Rio Toro. So that's the Seilink Rio Toro 2 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. 28th of April, Tuesday, 28th of April. Qualifying will start at 8 p.m. Central European Summertime, or 2000, as they would say it in the military. 1 hour qualifying session, and then a 2-hour race immediately after that. Of course, this is going to be the regular Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 class cars competing in this race. And as I said, 500 euro prize pool and some nice Rio Toro hardware prizes for that one. This is available now in the GTR24H web shop, where you can go and buy the participation tickets. Then the second event that's going to be added is an R Factor 2 special event, which will be tradition. Some of the tradition coming up, or something like a tradition. It's the Nürburgring 24 hours 2020. We had such a great time last year doing the Nürburgring race. I believe that was the most successful and most enjoyed race by all the participants. So we really want to repeat that. And since the real life Nürburgring race is moved to September, we thought originally the race was planned for the start of May, so the first weekend of May, but we thought, why not move it to the date of the supposed original race that was there before. So it's going to be raced on May 22nd. That's Friday evenings, qualifying 2000 or 8 o'clock p.m. Central European time to 2300. So because it's a big track, it'll be a 3-hour qualifying session, and then the race from 1400 or 2 o'clock p.m. Central European time on the Saturday 23rd of May, lasting 24 hours, of course, to 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Participating cars, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. We're going to run the SP9, which will be, so we're trying to emulate the real life Nürburgring class cars. SP9 is all of the original Studio 397 GT3 cars. Then we're going to have the SP8 Turbo class, which is going to be the brand new Studio 397 BMW M2. And then an SP7 class as well, which is going to be the Porsche GT3 Cup car in endurance spec. So it's all original Studio 397, and of course this will be run at the Nürburgring Nordschleife 24-hour layout as well. So you're looking at the GP track of that track right now, but we're going to run, of course, the full Nürburgring Nordschleife layout. Tickets for this, of course, also available right now already for sale in the GTR24H web shop. The price can go as low as an early bird discount right now on both of these races, and if you agree on what we call commitment and contribution levels, you can agree that you will share content about this race by your team on your social media profiles. That will give you a €10 discount, and you can agree to contribute with at least one article about your team, your preparations, team's whereabout, driver biographies, your sponsors, whatever you like. If you contribute with at least a 200-word article, you will as well get a €10 discount, which means that you can actually get the participation fee, and this counts, both races are set up the same. But if you do this and agree to these terms, you can get the participation for as low as €5. There's room for 50 teams in both races. We'll see if we can have the server handle more entries in Factor 2. We should be able to, but we'll have to look at the track and look at how we can accommodate that. Maybe we might be able to bump the Nürburgring 24-hour race up to 60 cars. But yeah, basically everything's ready for these two races. No news posted on the website about this yet, as I was working on getting this live stream ready, of course. But we'll have the news up on the website as soon as possible, hopefully later this evening. And yes, we are looking forward to having you guys participate in these wonderful events. Of course, right now we only know the approximate prize pool for the 2-hour Spa race in Assetto Corsa Competizione, but we are really hoping that we can pretty soon announce some prizes for the 24-hour race on the Nürburgring as well. So, great news! Yes! Andreas Nygaard on track, one of the ID Sim Sport drivers that won the overall victory Saturday night in the 12 hours of Sebring race. Mats MN, I have no idea who this guy is. Really, there is a specific rule against using these kinds of not real names in when you're participating on the server. I see B32 Racing on the server as well now. So either you use your team name or you use your real driver name. Fastest time for the GT3 class on the server right now, Carl Lykkegaard with a 1:55.864. Big slide for Mats here. It's so easy to get on the throttle too early to that particular corner, the exit of that chicane. I have no idea about the corner names for the GP track. I know far more of the corners and sections on the Nordschleife than I do on the GP track. So I guess I'll pull up a track map and start learning. I'm most likely though going to get a track map of the Nordschleife, even if I write Nürburgring. It's so confusing with not using the right Nordschleife track name and just calling everything, all of it, Nürburgring. We actually had quite a big amount of people asked us if we were going to have this 12-hour race with the LMP2 cars and hypercars and everything on the Nordschleife layout, which in the beginning I thought was really quite a ridiculous question, because who in their right mind would have a competition with hypercars on the Nordschleife layout? But then I realized it's just messed up with the name, like a track having two so different layouts going under exactly the same name. It's bound to be confusing. Okay, so basically they just renamed the corners as it suits them. Okay, B32 skin is broken as well. So there are now two cars. When you see this and the game is sort of jittering and jumping forth and back, it's because the auto skin transfer system has been allowed for people to join the server with their own skins. Previous to starting all of this up, I opened up the game and deleted all downloaded skins so that I would be sure the machine is running without any skin issues. But still, it seems the actual way that you're supposed to create these custom skins inside R32 is so poorly documented that people still can't agree on a specific particular way of doing it. So this just causes problems all the time. That's why we have two white cars in the field now. And if we get too many of those, the game client will actually become quite jittery, because it will just keep trying to download these skins that it can't get. Matthias Blom, also one of the participants in the weekend. I believe Matthias was driving with ID SimSport as well. I believe actually he was the driver of the ID SimSport BMW M6 GT3 car. If I'm correct, I believe that's the case. Yes. I'm looking at various track maps now of the GP track, and I can see that just during the last maybe last 10 years, all of the corners have had multiple different names, just based on whoever is kind of sponsoring that corner. Originally named, I think, Mullenbach-Kehr, which is the very bottom long hairpin corner down at the very bottom of the track. In fact, that part of the track is also used for drift competitions as well. Quite spectacular with this very, very long 100. It's actually more than 100. It's more than 180 degree corner, because it's slightly bent inwards, so the corner is actually maybe 185 degrees. Originally taking its name because the neighboring town, if you continue on the normal road that crosses under the track, just that you get to the town of Mollenbach. So I think that corner was named after the neighboring city, so that would be Mollenbach. Or Mühlenbach, to say it like with proper German pronunciation. It's also been named Dunlop oder Dunlopkehr. Again, to take it with the correct German accent. And what is it? What has it been called too? Let's try and find another track map here. I'll give you another name for the same corner. It is supposedly turn 8 as well, just before the Michael Schumacher S. This was actually the corner. Now Karl Løkkegaard's going up towards the Michael Schumacher curve, or Michael Schumacher S. He'll then get to... sorry. We're having AutoCam on, and sometimes when people leave or join the server, AutoCam sort of falls in love with them and really wants to show a screen of no one. Don't worry, we will get back to the track. Here we go. Karl Løkkegaard now coming down through the Hatzenbach kink and going up towards what I think for a longer time period now has been known as the NGK chicane. Well-known producer of spark plugs, NGK. This is also right after the NGK chicane that the track veers off to the left, and if you take that curve, you're going to go out onto the across from the old pits on the Nürburgring Nordschleife section, down towards what is used as the start finishing straight for the current layout of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, or Nordschleife. Andreas Nygaard really pushing the Orica 07 LMP2 car. Its best time's down to a 146.629. I've wondered for quite a while now in the overlays here. We're seeing the current time overlay always having a much higher time crossing the finish line than the real actual time, and this is quite strange because the progress time is taken straight out of rFactor 2. A lot of people improving their times right now. Matthias Blom coming up with an improvement of his personal best. 155.7 is the time to beat. Just about 0.5 of a second in it for Matthias Blom to take Karl Løkkegaard for first. And this actually could be a good run. And Karl Løkkegaard improves his Sector 1 time now. An even better time. We really are going to have to work on a solution for this auto skin transfer. We really want to allow the teams to run their cars to show off their the sponsors and liveries and everything for these official practice, Thursday night official practice sessions. But if the liveries continue to have as many errors as this, and we have 2 cars on the server with skin problems, I think we're going to have to try to find another solution. Andreas Nygaard entering the pits, or maybe coming out of the pits with a new attempt on improving his time. really using all of the track is Matthias Blom here, and more than all of the track. He's really going at it. Well done for keeping control of that car as he was coming back over the curbs, and the car was wiggling its back end all over the place. And he's going back into the pits. Andreas Nygaard here. I think he's actually hot lapping now. He just put up a new best first sector. Going down to the Hudson-Bach kink. Up the hill back towards the NGK chicane. Final corner before the start finishing straight. And across the finish line. 46.377 is a new best. And the front inside wheel actually lifted off the ground in the first sharp right-hander going down the hill. And what is that corner currently called? It will be the Yokohama curve right now. It leads into the section of the track that's called the Mercedes Arena, which actually consists of 3 corners. Then down into the 185-degree Dunlop corner. Up towards the very fast left right-hander Michael Schumacher S. Then into the Michelin curve, followed by the Warsteiner curve. Back down the hill into the Hudson-Bach kink. Up the hill again towards the NGK chicane. And I can see here they want this final corner to be called the Coca-Cola curve. Current leader of GT3 Carl Løkker. Coming out of the, or into the Warsteiner curve. Off track. I do not know why we see so many of the GT3 cars having trouble staying on track in this particular corner. But it does seem the corner might be tightening just a little bit at the end, so it may be catching the drivers. Oh, thank you. So Matthias Blom is driving for the DSR Dream Team. So yes, I did have that wrong, but I didn't really pay too close attention to the driver names during the 12-hour race, so I'm mostly guessing here. Sorry. I'll do my best. It's not my regular job to be a commentator of these events, but sadly, as I said, Nick Newcomb has fallen ill, and we're of course all hoping for him to get well as soon as possible, so that he can be back with us. Well, it's quite nice to see that we actually have a good handful of cars on track in this first official practice session with such a short notice. This, of course, or this way of running was actually only finalized just yesterday. So this being the first Thursday for actually an entire sequence of official practice sessions every Thursday. So of course we're hoping to see a lot more teams join these official practice sessions, as well as join us, not tonight, but next week or later. Join us on TeamSpeak for interviews as well. So that we can make these Thursday night broadcasts somewhat of a situation report. It's going to be a lot of talking, so maybe more like a video podcast than an actual broadcast of what's really going on track. So just to have the mood and everything of racing going on, we'll have the cars practicing on track in the background, and then the main focus should actually be interviews with the teams and drivers. Really aggressive driving here. And the car looks set up very stiff as well. At least with very hard damper settings. It doesn't seem to calm down quickly when it touches the curbs. It seems to just keep vibrating a bit before it comes at ease. A little bit of a slide. Sliding, of course, always looks particularly aggressive in these high downforce LMP2 cars with the wide tires and loads of grip. Every move in the car just seems to be accelerated by the fact that it grips the road so much tighter than the GT cars. And Matthias heads back to the pits. I suspect he wasn't quite satisfied with what he was getting out of the car. That, of course, would also explain why Matthias Blom's driving the Callaway Corvette GT3 class vehicle. That is, of course, because he drives for DSR Dream Team, and the DSR team having a particular long career with the various Corvettes in R-Factor 2, both in GTE and GT3. We are getting quite good looking pictures from the track here as the ooh, I see someone else just joined. That's Gert Nielsen from the ID SimSport team that just joined the server. I was just talking about the very nice pictures that we're getting here with the sun setting on the track. And being a veteran with I think now more than 10 years of being a spectator at the Nürburgring 24-hour race, or at least very nearly 10 years as a spectator at the Nürburgring 24-hour race, I can tell you that the track looks very, very much like the real thing. It is eerie to see a track and location in a computer game that you actually know so well in real life. And even the small bumps on track seems to be replicated 100%. This is, of course, as Studio 397 said, the makers and maintainers of the R-Factor 2 platform. It is the newest laser-scanned version of the Nürburgring GP track and the Nürburgring Nordschleife available. So this is right now the newest and most up-to-date version in any simulation of this particular track and layout. Danoon is joining in the GTE class. And speaking of joining, let's have a quick word from our partners that joined us in presenting this series of long distance endurance races for 2020, the GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing World Championship Series. A quick word from our partners.
communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails, and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.
Hello and welcome back. I am Peter Monkholm, one of the organizers of the GTR24H organization. I am not really supposed to be sitting here and commentating this for this evening. With us tonight was supposed to be Nick Newcomb, who sadly has fallen ill. We wish him the very best and a very speedy recovery. On track right now, we're watching Andreas Nygaard, one of the drivers of the winning car in the 12 hours of Sebring this weekend. And of course, as you saw, apologies for not updating the graphics on the intro to our commercial break. That of course still says the Sebring 12-hour race. That is not true. This is of course preparations for the Nürburgring 12-hour race, which is going to be held on June the 20th, I believe, if I can even remember our own dates with all the stuff going on right now. Yes, qualifying Friday the 19th of June, the race itself. From noon Saturday, June the 20th. The platform is, of course, R-Factor 2. And we're going to see what the actual classes or classes of cars for the 24 hours of Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship could look like. Because the cars we're running is the McLaren Senna hypercar, which is going to be one of the cars in the new hypercar class, which seems to be slowly fading away in favor of a homologation or introduction of the American DPI class cars, which, from my personal opinion, the class should have adopted the hybrid versions of the American DPI class cars already, and not have fallen into this extremely expensive class of mostly hybrid hyperclass sports cars, which even as road cars are insanely expensive. And yes, introducing huge development costs, using exotic materials massive amounts of wind tunnel testing, and a very long design process for completely unique vehicles in a time period where car manufacturers seems to be not very much in favor of blowing their cash on motorsports, was perhaps never that brilliant idea that ACO and the FIA may have thought it was. Whereas in America, the much more restrictive is it Daytona Prototype Intercontinental or International, which is sort of modified LMP2 cars with I believe it's some chassis, engine and specific design rules. Well, they may not even cost a fourth in development of what it costs to develop a hypercar for the 24 Hours of Le Mans or the World Endurance Championship. And still the cars are mighty fast. I myself cannot remember if it was this year or last year. It might have been, no, sorry, of course it was last year, because we haven't had the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year yet. But if it was last year or the year before that Rebellion did the move from LMP2 to the LMP1 light category, the LMP1 class without hybrid systems, and they converted their car to the new LMP2 specs or LMP1 specs, and I believe at that point they had because Neil Yarni is now with the Porsche outfit, but did he become a Porsche driver before or after that? I can't remember, but it was one of the very experienced LMP1 drivers driving for the Rebellion team who said that the difference between the LMP2 car and the modified LMP1 version of the same car was so dramatic that even just releasing the throttle pedal in the LMP1 version of the car felt like going full on the brakes in the LMP2 version. So the grip level, the change in grip level from the LMP2s to the LMP1s is so dramatic, and the DPIs are lapping at lap times that right now are quite similar with the LMP1L cars, and the plan to add standardized hybrid systems in these cars is going to push them out of the corners like a bullet out of a gun, which I think will be interesting to see. And only the future will tell if we're going to see in the real life Le Mans, if we're going to see the actual hypercars on track, or the field is going to prefer running the DPI versions of the cars. Toyota definitely seems committed to trying to develop a hypercar version using the knowledge from their LMP1 program. We just had early in the winter, we just had Aston Martin abandon their plans to run an Aston Martin hypercar. And that's because Aston Martin wants to focus. I think we have other people joining, or do we have an accident here, or are we focusing on the right car? If this is not the right car, at least we're getting a slow motion style study of Gerd Nielsen. We have one of Sunday's winners as well in the GT3 class joining the track. Andy Kurtzen, I believe, is driving the McLaren 720S. It's on track right now. As the sun is getting ever lower in the sky. The BMW M6 that in the GT3 class replaced the BMW Z4. The Z4 actually had a wonderful V8 sound and was a very well designed, beautiful, sleek machine compared to the square sedan box of the M6, which I can tell you, because I've now heard it multiple times in real life, does have the weirdest engine sound of any of the GT3 cars in real life as well. It does sound strange in R-Factor 2, but trust me, it does sound equally strange in real life. The intake sound and weird, yeah, it's not explainable. It just sounds very strange. I don't think Andy Kurtzen has done a lot of racing on this track before. He keeps triggering yellow flags in the standings. Very hot front brakes on the BMW, glowing bright red. Gerd Nielsen, of course, also one of the oldest competitors in the, if not the oldest competitor in the Endurance E-Racing World Championship. Gerd now well into his 60s. And he's been driving sim racing for just about as long as I can remember. A real cool and very tempered guy with just a world of knowledge on. He's been racing most tracks and had a lot of different simulators as well. There must have been cut track warnings on this lap for Andy Kurtz, and we didn't get a lap time for him either. From the DSR Dream Team back on track. From a short stop in the pit lane. I'm excited to see what kind of lap times Andy Kurtzen's going to be able to put up here on this track now that he was part of the win in the GT3 class on Sunday. Very aggressive on the curbs. And across the finish line, and I did not see if he took P2. He is at least not P1, because we still have Matthias Blom in P1. Who's now taken over P1 from Karl Løkkegaard. I believe Karl Løkkegaard is driving with the DSR sister car, the DSR Nightmare. Andy Kurtzen P3, 158.0, a good 2 seconds down on Matthias Blom. And the sun is now fully set, and it's completely dark on track. Andreas Nygaard in the LMP2 car has been with us for the entire session. Other than that, we've seen various people drop in and out of the GTE and GT3 classes, where we've had in total, I think, about 10 cars on track, with a one-day notice for an official practice session. That is quite okay, I think. It's not everyone that could just suddenly tear out 2 hours on a Thursday night for a practice session. Except most of these guys, given the circumstance in the world right now, would perhaps just have been planning to watch a TV series something along the lines of an American streaming company, or maybe they had planned watching some YouTube videos, and then of course practicing for the next race of the EVC season is a nice break off. Andy Kurtzen improving his sector 1 time. How many laps does Andy Kurtzen need to shave these 2 seconds of his lap time that's needed for him to get into P1, and is he even able to do it? Improved on his sector 2 time as well. Andy Kurtzen now in P2. And because we do not have any proper commentary tonight, let's end tonight's live broadcast a little bit earlier, but let's end it by walking through tonight's announcements as well. The tickets for the newly, or participants tickets, team tickets, car tickets, whatever you want to call them, for the 2 upcoming new special events are now put on sale in the GTR24H web shop. It is an Assetto Corsa Competizione, 2 hours of Spa special race, the Rio Toro Silink 2 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, entry fee as low as €5 in early bird, with various participation. I believe it's what's it called? Commitment and contribution discounts available down to €5. €500 prize pool for this race as well as some nice hardware prizes by Rio Toro, which could be anything from PC peripherals like this very nice keyboard that I'm typing on is my daily driver here at the production PC. A wonderful keyboard. Sadly not in a Danish key layout, which causes me daily trouble, but the keys are so nice and everything's so good looking and very functional that I choose to keep running it, even though it doesn't have our Danish special letters on it. Or it could of course also be PC cases. You could go and look up the Rio Toro website and look at their range of products. Silink, the company that does communications solutions for companies, Specifically, they key up telephone accounts for customers with social media profiles and various other contact platforms, so that when a customer contacts your company, it'll always be the right person that gets the message inside your company. Very brilliant solution. So yes, if you're looking for a streamlined communication solution for your company, go look up Silink as well. The second race, a bit of a tradition, at least a tradition that we're trying to establish, because we had so much fun creating and broadcasting the 24 Hours of Nürburgring last year. So since the real life 24 Hours of Nürburgring is cancelled, why not make an R Factor 2 race on the same track, exactly on the same weekend as the real life 24 Hours of Nürburgring was supposed to be held. So we did that, and we're introducing 3 different classes of GT and touring cars for that particular race. You can go and look up all the information in the GTR24H web shop. Participation fee for the 24-hour race is also available for down to €5 with early bird discount and these commitment and contribution discounts as well. Of course, prices for the 24-hour Nürburgring race is not settled yet. So, that will be it for this evening's broadcast. As we see Andreas Nygaard hunting down Andy Kurtzen. He's going to look for that inside gap. And instead he doesn't keep it close enough and needs to go for the outside gap, but very nice track. This, along with Sebring, is one of these tracks that's wide enough that you can actually overtake just about everywhere on the track, which is in stark contrast to the more infamous part of the same track, the Nordschleife loop, which is so narrow and constricted that it's hard to even overtake anywhere. Huge contrast coming from the modern GP track, and going out, turning left right here, actually where Andreas Nygaard just passed the entrance where the cars would veer off and go onto the old Nordschleife loop. Anyway, enough mumbo jumbo from me, who's not even supposed to be commentating this evening. We give all our best to Nick Newcomb and hope him a speedy recovery, so we can have him back for next week, or any of the other commentators. I do actually not even know the plan for who's going to be on next week, but we'll see. And you can see us next Thursday, 20:30 or 8:30 p.m. in the evening, with another official practice session from the server. It's going to be more like just a kind of video podcast, where we're hoping to have most of the 2-hour time filled with commentary, interviews with the participating drivers, and just going over, first of all, next week we're going to go over the Sebring race, what went on. Going to talk to the leading and winning teams and some of the participating teams on their experiences of that race. Until then, I've been Peter Munkholm, and I'm going to hand you off with a quick word from all of our wonderful partners who help us make all of this possible. See you next week.
Communication. It started out as a conversation between two people, but as time went by and people's needs became greater, they developed more ways to communicate. Businesses today need to minimize incomplete connections. Therefore, it is critical that they provide optimal service. Xilinx desktop, mobile and web applications can process everything from normal calls and callbacks to chats, emails and social media inquiries. Let Xilinx liberate your business.